Now, Shasta Abhigopta Nipati Prajanam Yaking Karo Vaina Pinashtipishtam. So, Dharmam Aradhanam Achyutasya Yad Ihmano Vijahati Aghaugam. Yeah, so this verse is there. You can all see this. Now, this verse is simple. I mean to say, if you see the Sanskrit, you will yourself understand. Shasta Abhigopta. Shasta means governor. Abhigopta means, Prabhupada says, a well-wisher of citizens. A father is a well-wisher of his children. So Abhigopta means father, who is a well-wisher. And then, what's this? And then comes Nipati. Nipati, you understand, king. So Rahugan Maharaj, King Rahugan, he is trying to refute the arguments of Jad Bharat, and he's saying, okay, he's saying, well, so he's saying, so because Jad Bharat, he raised an argument to Rahugan Maharaj previously, just previous to this discussion. He said, you see, you are talking, so my dear Rahugan, you are talking about master and servant, king and subjects, but I think this is all temporary relationships. That's all. So it doesn't matter whether you're a master or I'm a servant, you're a king or I am a citizen. These things can get reversed, because in next life I can be master and you can be servant. I can be king and you can be a citizen. So this is all temporary relationships. But Rahugan, he is countering that argument and he's saying, okay, I know that Shasta Abhigopta, which was there just now, they were showing. So he said, I know that this governor. So can you show the verse? So this, so I know governor, king, Abhigopta, Nipati means king, and Shasta means governor. All these people have to govern somebody. Yah king karo. The citizens of Prajanam, the citizens of the city are kinkar, are actually servants of these people, the father, the king and the governor, the local governor. They have to follow their things. But then he says, Vaina Pinashti Pishtam. So it's not that that these people are instructing, that the king is instructing his citizens. It's useless. It has a reason for that. Na Pinashti Pishtam. Pinashti Pishtam means grind what is already ground. So Jad Bharat said that, so that my dear Rahugan, you were ordering me to carry a palanquin as a servant, as a citizen, but then that's of no value, because in previous lives you might be my servant and I will be master, and I was ordering you, and so in the next life again you become servant, I become the master, I order you, and then in the next life you become the master and I become the servant, and then you order me. It just keeps on going. That's why Jad Bharat said it's all grinding what is already ground. But Rahugan says no, it's not like that. King Rahugan says no, it's not a useless activity that the king is ordering the citizens, or father is ordering children, or the governor is trying to order his local people. It's not a waste of activity. Why? Because Swadharmam Aradhanam Achyutasya. Because if anybody follows his Swadharma, the king's occupational duty is to actually order his citizens. That's all. It's to guide the citizens by ordering them, if necessary by punishing them. It is said in scriptures that punishment, danda, is the, so according to dharma, danda is the most purifying of all agents. That's interesting. In Gita it is said, pavanam, air and water is the most purifying of all agents, especially air. That's according to Gita. According to dharma, punishment is the most purifying of all agents. So father must punish children if they are wrong. King must punish citizens if they are wrong. So Rahugan was trying to punish Jad Bharat because he was not walking straight while carrying palanquin. So he was just reprimanding him, chastising him. So the occupational duty of king is to give punishment, chastise, guide, warn, protect, and if necessary, then order. That's what king is supposed to do. So swadharmam, that is my swadharm. Rahugan says, aradhanam achyutasya, and swadharmam, following one's occupational duty, is the best kind of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the main line which actually Rahugan raises the point. This is the main point which he raises, and that's very interesting point, and I like to discuss on this point. This is the whole crux of this verse. If anybody follows his occupational duty, that's the best kind of worship of Krishna, Achyutasya, Vishnu, and by doing this, what happens? Yad ihamano vijahati, yad ihamano. By following this, what happens is vijahati aghogam. So vijahati means released from, aghogam means all kind of sinful activities and faulty actions. So this is the verse. This is a simple verse. In a nutshell, okay. So now let's talk about it. In a nutshell, what happens is Rahugan is trying to raise a point of dharma. So can you just remove this screen? Yeah, just remove this screen. Yeah, thank you. So Rahugan is trying to raise a point of swadharma. That's very, very important. And this discussion, Rahugan is in a misconception that following one's occupational duty is the best kind of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the first misconception. Because following one's occupational duty is not the best kind of worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead. If following the occupational duty does not satisfy and please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse. So what's that verse? I forgot that. Swadharmam padambujam hare. No, not that verse. So the verse which Ramanand Rai quotes to Mahaprabhu, so that following one's occupational duty is the best kind of worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's a Bhagavatam verse which is very famous. What's that verse? I'm just missing from my mind. If anybody knows, they can tell me. But there's a very important verse. I'm just forgetting. Charvata, following Varnashrama, Haritatosha Karanam, that pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. I'm just missing my point. Anyway, so if anybody knows, you can tell me. Haritatosha Karanam, what's that verse? Let me just have a look. I'm just Varnashrama Charvataha, something, I just forget. Anyway, so I'm just forgetting. Anyway, so there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll just remember that in a few moments, that following Varnashrama is actually best, which actually pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the famous verse which is actually very famous to Madhva Sampradaya. Madhva Sampradaya people like that verse a lot. So that verse comes in first canto, and also within discussions of Ramanand Rai and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He quotes that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Ramanand Rai, okay, let's discuss about sadhe and sadhan. So in that sadhe sadhan, when he talks about that, at that time Ramanand Rai gives one option, that following Swadharma is the best kind of activity which can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm just missing that verse. I don't know. I'm just missing that verse. It's crazy. Karanam. Let's see. Vishnu aradhyate pantha nanyat tattosha karanam. Is it this? Okay, let's see. 855. Okay, yeah. This is a verse. I got it. This is Varnashrama Charvata Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Aradhyate Pantha Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. This verse is from Vishnu Puran 3.8.9. This is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, yeah. This is a 3.8.9. Yeah. So this is mentioned in actually Chaitanya Charitamrita also. That has to be seen properly. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 8.58. That's the verse there. So if you can show that verse. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, quotes from Vishnu Puran 3.8.9, but this is actually Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 8.58. And there, if you see that verse, in that verse, if you see, I think they are opening. The verse says Varna ashram achara vata. Yeah, this is the verse. Okay, let's see this. Varna ashrama chara vata. Manu behaves according to the system of 4 divisions of social order and 4 divisions of life. Varna ashrama achar vata. So anybody who follows Varna ashrama, their own occupational duty. Purushena parapuman. So any person who follows prescribed duties, executes properly. Vishnu aradhyate panta. That's the only way to actually worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And na anyat tattva kocha karanam. There is no other way to satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a very important shlok. This verse says there is no other way to satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead except following your own occupational duty of varnashrama duties. Now this verse, if you go to Madhva Sampradaya, if you go to Ramana Sampradaya, especially Madhva Sampradaya, they like this verse a lot. For them, this verse is like a fruit cream. Practically. They like, in fact, when Chaitanya Prabhu went to Udupi, he asked the pontiff there, when he visited Udupi, he asked the pontiff that, okay, what's your philosophy? There, the pontiff or the acharya, and we know at that time the acharya was Vyasa Tirth, he quoted this verse. And if you see the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam also says the same thing. Now you might think, okay, this is Vishnu Puran. This is from Vishnu Puran, quoted from Vishnu Puran, Prabhupada says. But Srimad Bhagavatam says the same thing. Ata pumbi duja shreshta varnashram vibhagasha sonashchatasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Beautiful verse now. Bhagavatam says the same thing. Ata pumba duja shreshta. Any pumba means man, duja shreshta means Brahman. Any best among Brahmanas, therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's occupational duty according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you see this, the point. Bhagavatam also says this thing. The highest perfection is that by discharging duties, your occupational duties, you have to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same argument Rahugan is raising. Swadharmam, Rahugan is raising the same point. Swadharmam aradhanam achyutasya. By following occupational duties, we can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, Vishnu Puran says there is no other way. That's interesting. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says no. He says well, this is okay. Vishnu Puran says, Bhagavatam says, but the whole point is the best way to please Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually Shravanam Kirtanam. So Mahaprabhu quotes that word, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out in this verse. So somebody can argue, okay, well, Bhagavatam says that occupational duties is to please Supreme Personality of Godhead. So can you show the verse? Yeah. You have to show the verse, Sanskrit verse. So
No.
Srimad Bhagavatam, that she's sorry, it's not Sanskrit verse, Bengali verse. Yeah. Wait, Srimad Bhagavatam verse in the purport. Yeah. So here So here Srimad Bhagavatam says, so Mahaprabhu points out there. Mahaprabhu doesn't point out in Chaitanya Charitamrita discussion. But later Acharyas point out that Srimad Bhagavatam, so Madhva Sampradaya likes to quote, Ramanuja Sampradaya, they like to quote Srimad Bhagavatam also. And then they say to us, to ISKCON and to Gaudiya devotees, that you see, so you're not following Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam says that you have to follow occupational duty, and by following occupational duty you have to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But you are always focusing on Shravanam, Kirtanam and this, and you're not focusing on Varnashrama, and that's, but we think according to Bhagavatam the main thing is Varnashrama. Although we also want to bring Varnashrama, Prabhupada said to bring Varnashrama back, but Varnashrama for us is actually just a anukul, just a favorable to actually the real process of devotion, which is Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Mahaprabhu said to Ramanand Rai, when we talk about sadhe and sadhan, when we talk about the process of devotional service, we can't accept that following the duties Varnashrama is the process for devotional service. So Ramanand Rai and Mahaprabhu asked Ramanand Rai this very important question: what is sadhan and what is sadhe? Sadhan means a process, sadhe means goal. The goal is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's very clear. There's no problem. Love of God or to please Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then what's the process? According to Madhva, it is following occupational duty. According to Raghugan Maharaj, it is following occupational duty. According to Vishnu Puran, it is following occupational duty. There is no other way. And then they quote Bhagavatam. According to Bhagavatam also, it is following occupational duty. So then they say, you Gaudiyas and you ISKCON people, you have changed the philosophy and you are saying sadhan is not following occupational duty. Sadhan is Harinam Kirtanam, Shravanam Kirtanam, according to Mahaprabhu. So you change things. Bhagavatam, your Bhagavatam doesn't say, and there is a big argument. But then our acharyas, they comment on this verse. And they say, okay, we will handle this argument. Well, as far as sadhan is concerned, as far as process is concerned of devotion, it's very clear. There is another verse also, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padam Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsam Arpita Vishnu. The next verse of that. Anybody who offers these 9 processes to Vishnu, Vishnu becomes pleased. So according to Bhagavatam and Prahlad Maharaj's authority, sadhan is not this. So then they can say, well, okay, fine, but then Bhagavatam also speaks this. So then how do you explain this verse? If you say the process of sadhan is Shravanam Kirtanam, then how do you explain this verse of Bhagavatam? So acharyas explain this verse of Bhagavatam in commentary, and then they say, okay, fine, we'll explain this verse. And the verse says, Swanishthasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Now here the important word is samsiddhi. Samsiddhi. Haritoshanam is to please. That's a sadhe, goal. What's the sadhan? Swanishthasya dharmasya. Swanishthasya dharmasya, to follow one's occupational duty. It seems by reading this verse that following occupational duties can please Supreme Personality of Godhead, but no, the important link is samsiddhi. Samsiddhi. Now all acharyas comment on this word and they say no, by following occupational duties you will get siddhi. Siddhi means perfection. Perfection in what? That's the whole point. You will get perfection in Shravanam and Kirtanam. And then Haritoshanam, then Krishna will be pleased. That's the explanation of Arava Acharyas. Of course, these people, of course, Madhva Sampradaya and other Ramana Sampradaya, they say, no, we don't like this explanation, because according to us, the explanation is following the occupational duties, Swanishthasya dharmasya samsiddhi. Samsiddhi here means you will get moksha. Siddhi, perfection. Perfection of human life is moksha. When you get moksha, then Haritoshanam, then Krishna is pleased. They have their own interpretation. But then we can always argue, if we interpret this verse like that, then how do you understand what Prahlad Maharaj says? That the process is Shravanam and Kirtanam. What do you do with that? So if you want to solve this contradiction of Bhagavatam, then our Acharya says no. Here samsiddhi means by following occupational duty, you will get perfection in Shravanam and Kirtanam. That's why the word is samsiddhi. Siddhi means perfection, sam means complete. Complete perfection in Shravan Kirtanam, and then Krishna will be pleased. So according to our acharyas, following occupational duty is actually favorable to our bhakti process, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And that's what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said in all his quotations, Prabhupada said we want to establish Varnashrama. Why? Because it provides a favorable atmosphere physically and mentally to actually execute devotional service, to execute Shravanam and Kirtanam. And then Krishna will be pleased, isn't it? That's what Prabhupada said. You please come to farms, grow your own food, keep cows, live peacefully, don't be in the city life, live peacefully. You need mental peace to do Shravanam and Kirtanam and to avoid contamination. And then you get perfection in Shravan Kirtanam, then you please Krishna. It's simple. So you see the point. The point here is the point which Rahugan Maharaj is raising. Okay, so one question is, so can you just show this verse, so Vishnu Puran verse quoted here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, just above. I don't know. Yeah, okay, fine. So somebody can say, but then Vishnu Puran says, Nanat Tattvosha Karanam. Vishnu Puran is very adamant. Vishnu Puran says, if you don't follow your Varnashram, occupational duties, there is no other way to please Krishna without following occupational duties. According to Mahaprabhu, what's that verse? Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Eva Kelam, Kalo, Nastev, 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 Gatnatiraneta. According to us, there is no other way except Hari Nam to please Vishnu, to please Krishna. But Vishnu Puran says this. So is Vishnu Puran wrong? That's the whole question. So Vishnu Puran is because it's a very touchy matter, because Vishnu Puran is one of the so just like for Gaudiyas, Bhagavatam is a main book. For Sri Vaishnavas, Vishnu Puran is a main. So for them, if this verse is there in Vishnu Puran, they say this is the verse. Just like we say Hare Nam, Nastev, Nastev, Nastev Gatiranata, Hare Nam, Hare Nam. They speak this. Vishnu Adete Panthana, Anyat Tosha Karanam. So they follow Varnashram very strictly. So the whole point is now they may say, well, what about this verse? So then, is Vishnu Puran wrong? No, Vishnu Puran is not wrong. When Vishnu Puran is saying there is no other way to please God except following occupational duties, the point which Vishnu Puran is raising is, it is saying, well, if you don't follow Varnashrama properly, then you will not be able to do Shravanam Kirtanam properly. You will not be able to serve Krishna properly. And if you can't serve him properly and not do Shravan Kirtanam, then you will not be able to please Krishna. So it's like that. That's all. At least we understand like that. Anyway, so we come back to subject matter. So the subject matter is, Rahugan raises the same point. And Rahugan Maharaj, he says, well, he says, okay, fine. So dharma maradhanam achyutasya. So you have to, so dharma maradhanam achyutasya. He is the same point that, my dear Vijay Bharat, your logics are okay, but Shastra says that if you follow occupational duties, Krishna will be pleased. And I am following occupational duty, and this is Shastra, and this is practical also, and I am ordering you, you are a citizen and you must carry palanquin properly. But there is a problem there. Srila Prabhupada then writes in his purport. Prabhupada writes that Rahugan Maharaj, although he was saying following occupational duty will please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he was not Krishna consciousness. That's the whole point. He was actually ordering for his own sense gratification. That's the most important point. Prabhupada mentions here in the purport. This would be very beneficial. Unfortunately, king or the president engages people in sense gratification instead of Lord's service. And such activity is certainly not beneficial for anyone. King Rahugan tried to engage, please can you wait? King Rahugan tried to engage Jad Bharat in carrying palanquin, which is a form of sense gratification for king. See, King Rahugan should have engaged Jad Bharat in carrying palanquin in Lord's service. That's the whole point. Although Rahugan was trained as a king. So can you just remove this? Yeah, just remove this screen. So although Rahugan was trained as a king, now let's talk about it. Now things will become little clear. Although Rahugan was trained as a king, and he was taught that you should follow occupational duty nicely, so that it will please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That was correct, provided he should have been Krishna consciousness. He should have been following Shravanam and Kirtan, and he should have understood that everybody should be engaged in the service of Lord and not his own service. Then it would have been all right. But Rahugan Maharaj, he learned dharma. He learned the dictates of dharma without understanding the essence of dharma. That's a very important insight which Srimad Bhagavatam gives. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam says, Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhaktir adhokshaje. So Bhagavatam says that the best kind of dharma is to do devotion to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Bhagavatam says, Dharma sonishtita pumsam vishvaksena kathau suya. Nautpade drati ratim shramayavai kevalam. First canto. Anybody who follows his own dharma, occupational duty, but by following that, if Krishna and devotees are not pleased, then it's just waste. The same thing Jad Bharat said, isn't it? Jad Bharat said, Rahugan, you are ordering me. In the next life, I might order you. I might be king, you might be servant. In the next life, again, you might be king and I might be servant. It's all waste. Because Rahugan, Jad Bharat could see that Rahugan is a mere king and he's not a devotee. He's not a full-fledged pure devotee. He's simply a king. That's all. But after meeting Jad Bharat, Rahugan became a pure devotee. That's another thing. You can understand what Jad Bharat is saying. So that's the whole crux of the matter. Even dharma, religion practiced for one's own sense gratification, it's waste. So being a pious man, being a good man, doing good things, acting like a proper father, parents, or acting like a proper king, it's waste if it doesn't help you or help anybody else to actually elevate in Krishna consciousness. And that's a very important point. Rahugan's order to Jad Bharat didn't help him in any way to become more Krishna consciousness. It simply helped himself. So that's very important thing, because you see, in this sense, having knowledge of dharma without having knowledge of devotion can be harmful. And that's called as dangerous persuasion. That's called as dharmdhaji. There is a technical term for this, dharmdhaji. That if anybody gets knowledge of dharma without getting knowledge of devotion, he will use dharma for his own sense gratification. That's what Rahugan is doing. Actually, King Rahugan is in a very dangerous position. You can be sinful and then you can do sense gratification. That's okay. Because you're sinful, you are doing sense gratification. It's expected. But you are religious and then you are doing sense gratification. That's very dangerous. And that is why it is said in religion, it is said in dharma, if a sinful man does some sin, and if a Brahmana who has knowledge of religion, if he does some sin, does both of them get same punishment? No. If he does the same sin, both of them does the same thing, but one have knowledge, one doesn't have knowledge. Do they get the same punishment? No. The sinful man gets less punishment. And the Brahmana who has all knowledge of dharma, if he is doing the same thing, he gets more punishment because he has the knowledge. But he is trying to hide his own sense gratification and sin using the knowledge of dharma. That's more dangerous. So Jad Bharat could understand that as a principle, following varna, swadharmam swadharmam aradhanam achyutasya. What Rahugan is saying, that following occupational duty is a way to worship Krishna, that's not wrong. That's not wrong. And so and Rahugan also gives logic that, well, if the king orders his citizens, and then if they don't follow orders, he punishes, it helps to actually purify them. It helps to bring citizens in a right direction. And so that's why he says Abhaugam. He says it helps to actually purify them from sins, and that's okay, that's right. Rahugan is making a very valid argument. Rahugan is not wrong. Basically, that you have to understand. Rahugan Maharaj is not wrong when he is saying this. When Rahugan Maharaj is saying in the verse, so in the verse Rahugan Maharaj is saying, let me just have a look. So where is the verse? Can you show that? So Rahugan Maharaj is saying in the verse that actually, so can you show the translation there? So Rahugan Maharaj is saying that, that by punishing citizens, by ordering them and punishing citizens, as I am punishing you, because you don't follow my orders, he teaches the citizens to obey laws of the state. That's a very valid argument. If father doesn't punishes and orders his son, they get pampered and then they lose the whole situation. The son gets spoiled. So if the king doesn't act like a father to citizens who are like children, they get pampered and then they lose the situation, then they get spoiled. So he's making a very valid argument. And then he says, if one is engaged in his occupational duty and as ordered by Supreme Lord, his sinful activities are certainly diminished. You see, therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duty by force, he benefits because he can vanquish all his sinful activities in that way. So Rahugan says, if I order something to citizens, and even if they are following by force and not by their own will, still it helps them, because it helps them to vanquish all sinful activities. Otherwise they get absolutely spoiled, they become rogues. So certain force is required, certain order is required. That's what I am doing. And this is the job of dharma. Dharma has two things. Dharma works by two things. Religion works by order, sense of order. The person who is following religion, he has a sense of order in his mind, that I am ordered by scriptures to do this, honored by authorities to do this. And the second is fear, the fear of punishment. If I break the order, I'll be punished. These two sentiments, that this drives dharma. And this is what Rahugan Maharaj is raising the point. He's raising exactly the same points. He's raising these same points. I, as a king, by ordering people and by punishing them, I am developing a sense in them to follow orders. And actually I am helping them to curb their independent mentality and teaching them, you must follow somebody. Because independence and liberalism, and that's absolutely nonsense. We know this age is full of independence, liberalism. People are getting spoiled. People glide into sinful activities. And the next thing is, by punishing, I'm instilling fear that if you break orders, then you are going to get punished. So then they will not break orders. They will keep on following the orders. That's what I'm doing. So I'm not doing the right thing as a king. Actually, he's doing the right thing, and this should be done. It should be like that. Any good father, any good king, any good instructor has to order and has to punish if that order is not followed. There's nothing wrong in this. But Jad Bharat is having a spiritual vision also. Jad Bharat is not that he is simply foolish person. He was a king in last life, in last life. Jad Bharat is actually, Rahugan Maharaj, he is a mosquito in front of Jad. Jad Bharat was a king of entire world. King Rahugan is a king of local something. So Jad Bharat is like something like godfather of King Rahugan. Rahugan doesn't, and Jad Bharat remembers his previous life. He remembers everything as a King Bharat. He remembers everything as a king. He remembers everything as a spiritual person now as Jad Bharat. So he could see exactly what's the problem. If we would have encountered King Rahugan, we would have just succumbed to his logic, because he's a king, we have to follow orders, and if he doesn't follow orders, punished. This is his duty, he's doing his duty, so what's the problem? But Jad Bharat could see, Jad Bharat Was Jad Bharat might be thinking in his mind, King Raghugan, you're foolish, I was a king of entire world and I know what the things are. I know what you're doing. He could actually see in his heart, and he could see that his arguments are valid, but his arguments have no life. They're lifeless. Because they're devoid, because this person is devoid of devotion. Being devoid of devotion, all these arguments are like a straw man. Straw man. In this, so in the agriculture, this. So they put that straw man to scare crows, isn't it? They're made of straws. So crows think there's a man, but there's not a man. It's made of straws. It's hollow from inside. So it's called a straw man fallacy. So Raghugan could actually, Jad Bharat could see a straw man fallacy in this. Arguments are okay, structure is okay, but it's hollow. There's no devotion. And Raghugan knew without devotion, any dharma will not actually vanquish sinful actions. Without devotion, any dharma will actually increase sinful reactions. So Raghugan Maharaj's logic is wrong. He is saying all sinful reactions will be relinquished if they follow the orders of a king. But Jad Bharat said, you are foolish. It will actually increase sinful reactions, because it will increase your sinful reactions and citizens' sinful reactions, both of them. Because you are trying to engage me into your own personal sense gratification. So you are sinful in the name of religion. And then people who are following you, they will also be implicated in sinful reactions, because they are not serving God and they are serving some master who doesn't understand anything. So both of them are sinful actions. So Jad Bharat actually diffused his logic. And then Raghugan says, well, so by altering, I am trying to develop a sense of following order in the citizens. Jad Bharat could understand that's also wrong. Because the sense of following orders, it should be there, but it should be there to help serve the Supreme Lord and not to serve the local person. That's crazy. What Raghugan is doing, Raghugan is actually, in the name of dharma, he's trying to control people. And that's why Prabhupada raises the point in the purport. People and governors and the kings and the presidents in this world, they try to control people, they try to use people in the name of that we are presidents, you should follow us. That's what Raghugan is doing. Raghugan is a bad king. He's a maleficent king. He is appearing to be good, but he's not good. His all arguments are wrong. Although they appear right, but if you think properly, they're wrong. So his both arguments are wrong. He is saying that, well, that actually I'm helping citizens so that they don't become spoiled. But actually his orders are making them spoiled, because now they are losing Krishna consciousness. They are thinking, okay, he's my master, I have to follow him. They are not thinking, Raghugan is not helping them to think Krishna is their master. And you see history. In Andhra Pradesh, there was a king, Krishna Dev Rai. So Krishna Dev Rai, he was a king of South India. I think Tamil Nadu and all this area. So in this area, he was a king, and then he was so he was present at the time of Mahaprabhu. He was contemporary of Mahaprabhu. He was contemporary of King Prataprudra. He was devotee of Mahaprabhu. He was ruling Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, part of Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. And Krishna Dev Rai was ruling a part of Tamil Nadu and below that. And they were like conflict between them. But both of them devotees. Prataprudra was devotee of Mahaprabhu. Krishna Dev Rai was devotee of Vitthal. So Krishna Dev Rai was a Madhavite. His local guru was actually Vyasatirtha. And he was such a Vaishnav that it is said in Krishna Dev Rai kingdom, people didn't used to lock their doors. And everybody compulsory they had to follow Ekadashi. On the Ekadashi, you will not be able to get in any of the shops. You can't get. And Krishna Dev Rai, he was famous that he didn't used to come in palanquin. He used to carry the palanquins of Brahmanas and devotees. And then he used to inspire people, you carry the palanquin of devotees. That's the job of ideal king. What Rahugan is doing? He's just going in a palanquin. Jad Bharat is sitting and he's saying, okay, call him, and he'll also carry him a palanquin. This is nonsense. So that is why it is said, following dharma for personal sense gratification, that's sinful, and also that's harmful. Not just sinful, it's harmful for soul. Because when we try to follow religion without devotion, we tend to think we are right, we are good, we are pious, but actually we are not good, because externally we might be good, we might be following our duties, but actually from a spiritual point of view we are sinful, because we are not serving the Supreme Lord. In fact, we are more sinful because we are using the knowledge of Supreme Lord to actually not to serve Him. This is cheating. This is called as, in Hindi this is called as haram khori. I don't know, so in Prabhupada's language, rascaldom. This is called rascaldom. You're using the knowledge of a person against him, and to actually you're using the knowledge of another Krishna to fulfill your own agendas. This is very bad. So in that sense, some scriptures say that actually from one perspective, sinful people are better than pious people. That's one understanding from this verse. Sometimes it happens like that. Sinful people are better than pious people if both of them are non-devotees. Because sinful people, if they come in contact with devotees, they can change to devotees. But pious people, they come in contact with devotees, they think I am great. And that's what happening with Rahugan and Jad Bharat. Rahugan is a pious king, he's not a devotee. Jad Bharat is a devotee, and there's an interaction. And Rahugan Maharaj doesn't surrender, and he's arguing with him. So Narad Muni, he met, Devarshi Narad, he met that hunter who was sinful. You know that Srimad Bhagavatam, Jar, who used to kill animals half dead. Narad Muni, he went and he said, why are you doing this? Leave this. He left. He didn't argue. But he said to Narad Muni, well, this is my occupation. If I don't kill animals, what will I earn and what will I eat? Narad Muni said, don't worry, you just do bhajan and I will arrange food for you. He accepted, no problem. But here Rahugan is arguing, and he will be giving more arguments, you see. So it is actually always better to remain a fool rather than having knowledge without understanding the purpose of knowledge. And that's why when Mahaprabhu's guru, he said, well, what about Vedanta Sutra? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, well, my initiation guru told that actually I am a fool and I am not eligible to read all Vedanta Sutra and complex stuff. He just asked me to chant Hare Krishna. So it's not that we are not going to read Vedanta Sutra or other books. We read, we understand, but with the understanding that actually the aim and objective of reading all these things, of doing everything, is to actually chant nicely, serve Vaishnavas, become pure and elevate ourselves. That's all. The aim of entire Dharma, entire Vedas, entire Vedanta Sutra is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His devotees. And Rahugan is such a foolish man. He couldn't even, he's arguing with a self-realized soul. He's arguing with a Jad Bharat. He couldn't even identify Jad Bharat is Uttam Adhikari. He could understand. Because he's not a devotee. And that's another point which actually Srila Prabhupada raises, so not in this purport but in his teachings, and Bhaktisiddhanta also raises in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that actually if you are not a devotee, then you will not be able to recognize another devotee, and then you will commit offenses. So Rahugan is basically committing offense by arguing with Jad Bharat and saying you are wrong. But of course later he will realize and later things will change. But that's the whole point. So that's why Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, if you are not, so if you remain Kanishta Adhikari, if you remain a neo devotee and you don't raise yourself to Madhyama Adhikari, you will be involved in offenses, because you will not be able to recognize advanced devotees, and you will do an error. You will think, so you will take a Vaishnav as a non-Vaishnav, a non-Vaishnav as a Vaishnav, advanced devotee as a new devotee, a new devotee as an advanced devotee. You will all get mixed up, and then you will do offenses. You will not be able to behave with them properly, as what is happening with Rahugan Maharaj. So Bhakti-santa says that remaining Kanishtadhikari is a very dangerous position. We should never remain a neophyte level. We should rate ourselves to at least Madhyamadhikari level. Otherwise, we are in a big problem. And how to do that? Simple. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, how to do that? Shastra Nipuna. You read philosophy, read scriptures, try to understand philosophy. The only difference between a new devotee and an advanced and Madhyamadhikari, Kanishta Madhyam, is that Madhyam understands philosophy. Madhyam is not. Kanishta doesn't understand philosophy. He doesn't understand anything. So that's why he's liable to commit mistakes and not recognize anything. And that's, you see, you can be 20 years in the movement, but you can be Kanishtadhikari. It's as simple as that. It's not just time which makes you advanced automatically. If it was time which makes you advanced automatically, then with time, then all the animals in the jungles, they would become also civilized and advanced in technology. But it doesn't happen. Millions of years are animals because they are not trained. They cannot be trained. So if it's time, so with time automatically tribal people, they become super sophisticated civilized society. It doesn't happen like that. Tribal people are tribal people until unless they come in contact with actually sophisticated people. They don't learn and get trained with them. It doesn't happen automatically. So a person can be 20 years in devotion, but he can be at Kanishtadhikari level. The only difference between Kanishta and Madhyam is philosophical understanding. That's Mahaprabhu's take. That's what not I am saying. Chaitanya Prabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shastra Nipuna. You have to become expert in philosophy. At whatever level you are, no problem. By reading, by hearing, or whatever. So the problem with Raghugan Maharaj is, first, he is a pious man. He doesn't have understanding of devotion. Even if he has understanding of devotion, that's very superficial. He is either a non-devotee or he is a Kanishtadhikari. He is a Vaishnav Rai. And according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das Goswami, when he left his home and he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Raghunath Swami, Raghunath, your parents, Govardhan Das and Hiranya Das Majumdar, your uncle and your parent and your father, they're warm in a stool. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that. It's crazy, huh? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply said, they're warm in a stool. Vishtara Kida. Vishtara Keet. They're warm in a stool because, and then Mahaprabhu says, they are simply Vaishnav Rai. They're like Vaishnavas, but they are not Vaishnavas. They're simply materialistic people. So according to Mahaprabhu, Raghugan is warm in a stool. He is a Vaishnav Rai, like a Vaishnava, at max. That's all. Pious person following have some understanding of devotion. That's why he says, Swadharma Manadhanam Achyutasya. He knows to actually worship Krishna is okay. But that he knows very superficially as a common man. Okay, fine. And if you follow your devotional duty, Krishna will be happy. This is what people say, isn't it? Where people say, oh yeah, we are following our duty nicely, we are taking care of family, so then God will be pleased. This is the same thing what Raghugan is saying. There is nothing different. And that's why Jad Bharat could understand, although his arguments are valid according to religion, they are perfect, but he has simply crammed them. And he has not entered the spirit of these arguments because there is no life, there is no devotion there. How can you enter the spirit of Dharma? That's why if you want to enter the spirit of Dharma, the only way is devotion. Devotion helps, bhakti helps us to enter the spirit of Dharma. Without bhakti, we will not be able to enter the spirit of Dharma. It's impossible. That is why Bhagavatam says, first become a devotee and then understand Dharma. That's Bhagavatam's understanding. We should not reverse it. First Dharma and then bhakti. That doesn't work. Why? Because without following bhakti, sense gratification tendency cannot be removed. By following Dharma, you can get rid of sins, but you cannot get rid of sense gratification tendency. The only way to do that is bhakti. And once you get over sense gratification tendency, then you follow dharma. Then you will be able to follow dharma to please the Lord. Samsiddhi haritoshanam. Aradhanam achyutasya. Otherwise you will not be able to do that. Although Raghuvan is saying, so dharmam aradhanam achyutasya, he is not doing this. He thinks he is doing this, but he is not doing. That's the whole problem there. So he is a Vaishnava Prai and he is a worm in a stool. Jad Bharat could simply understand that. And Jad Bharat cuts all his logic and he says, "You are wrong, my dear king, you are nonsense." In one sense, he is speaking nonsense. But then no one is arguing with Jad Bharat. You are speaking nonsense. But then later Jad Bharat, but later Rahugan Maharaj will realize afterwards. And actually I am talking to a self-realized man later. By the mercy of Jad Bharat, by his preaching, he became a devotee. Raghugan Maharaj. So, I mean to say another point is, you see, we will also encounter people like that in our life. And we should be able to, the Jad Bharat is a very good preacher in one sense. He could really diagnose a problem. He was not confused by external structure of piety. And he actually one by one he took the arguments. Later he will take the arguments and actually smash all of them and dismiss all of them. Break all of those arguments. Break the straw man structure. He did that. So Jad Bharat, although he is foolish, but he is a good preacher. So by Jad Bharat we think he is a foolish man, but no, he is a great preacher and he has actually exhibited his preaching skills here in this whole incidents. And he actually convinced Raghugan to become a devotee. So we can see this whole thing. This whole discussion. And we can see what all things are hidden in this whole verse. So there are many points to learn in this whole verse, as I suggested, right from Jad Bharat's perspective, from Raghugan's perspective. We should be preachers like this. Jad Bharat is showing what kind of preacher we should be. We should have no interest in this material world, absolutely no interest like Jad Bharat. And we should be expert in preaching, be able to convince anybody. That's a good preacher. If you have interest in material world and if you're preaching, you will fall down. And that's a problem with all preachers who fall down. They might be expert preachers, but if they're not like Jad Bharat, if you don't have, so if for them the material world is not like a stone, some kind of attraction, then they fall down, then you will fall down. So actually Jad Bharat whole incidents helps us to understand how to become a good preacher in one sense, if you really think about it. Jad Bharat is not teaching us how to become disinterested from this material world and do nothing. No, he's preaching. And if he could convince Raghugan Maharaj, this means he might have met other people. He might be preaching already. Because how can he counter arguments so effectively? That means he was not sitting on the road just whole day passing, doing nothing. He might be traveling and preaching to people, talking to them, traveling to them. Although it is not mentioned, but we can expect that this it might be like that. Okay. Anyway, so I think I'll end up here. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, anything anybody wants to ask, you can ask.